no other plans at the moment, but I'm sure. I am sure that somebody will ask me something else.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, what was your best learning resource for Power BI when you were learning it? Just your manager, or did you follow a specific website or YouTube?
No, so as manager, there was also a guy in finance who is way more technical than I am. So I used him quite a lot. But I also went online and looked and just Googled things as well. Twitter, following people on Twitter within the community as well.
Yeah, cool. Was there any, did you use any of the community people's blogs or anything like that?
Yeah, and do you know what? I feel so bad, and I hope she's not on this, but I can't think of the lady's name. It's Laura.
Laura Graham Brown.
Yeah, because I commented on her LinkedIn post, but I've read a couple of her things as well. So yeah.
Very cool.
I think as well, it's not being afraid to ask. Like, there is so much to learn, and you just can't know it all. Just don't be afraid.
Clarissa has also put a link in the chat as well from some learning material.
Yeah, it's basically the guy who taught me is my colleague Dave, and yeah, he did an intro to Power BI webinar. So that's freely available for if you guys want to view that.
And Alison, didn't you also shared Power BI in a day, didn't you?
I did. I found some free Power BI in a day, but there weren't that many. And so actually, Laura Graham Brown and I are going to do some Power BI in a day.
Yeah, because I would like to join that. I know I have built, but it's there's always something to learn.
Cool. So, any more questions? No. You've had your chance. So up next is Clarissa, who's going to show us the magic of infinity forms, which sounds like a Marvel Universe thing.
It does actually. I realised I probably should have done a Marvel related demo, but I haven't.
Well,
I've done Warhammer one because I'm cool.
Well, and you have too many Warhammer figures to fit in your cupboard.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to do a Marvel one at some point, right? Because it just has to be done.
I'm glad I highlighted that just before you go on. Yeah. So we'll hand over to you.
Ace. Well, obviously, thank you for having me on. I'm kind of pretty fortunate because I was panicking about fitting this into 15 minutes, and Donna's like amazing come in, drop the bomb and leave immediately has actually given me a little bit of a time cushion. So that might be bad news for you because it means that you have to listen to me waffle on more, but we'll see how it goes.
I think we're all pretty excited about it, so.
Ace. So let's go for some screen share and see what we get. Perfect. So hopefully everyone can see. We'll do that standard thing of being on a Teams call and asking everyone to nod and be like, yes, we can see.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, perfect. Everyone joined in as well. That was great. So yeah, as I said, for my demo, I'm going to be diving into my love of Warhammer. And we're going to use this application that I built to create an army list. So let's just dive straight in and create a new army. So we get this form that appears here, and we can start filling this out. We've got some nice little features, like if we select our Grand Alliance, we get cool pictures because I like pictures and they're all shiny and it makes everyone go ooh and ah. And if we select, for example, pitch battle here, then you can see that these questions appear, which wouldn't be there if we just selected meeting engagement or something. Don't worry, you don't have to understand anything about Warhammer to understand the demo and the infinity form. So then we can select our points target, and I'm going to pick a target of 2,000 points. And we can actually flip onto our army stats, and we can see that that's actually populated a bunch of information here. So because we've selected a 2,000 point target, that's our maximum amount of points, and currently we don't have any points selected, so obviously 0 out of 2,000. And if we were to up this by like 250 or 500, then it will reflect this immediately over on our army stats page. So then we can go through and we can choose our faction, and this is this is filtered by which Grand Alliance you pick. So you can have these different factions. This isn't all the factions. I was entering loads and loads of data, and I was like, okay, I just need to stop. But you can pick some different factions. And then once you've selected a faction, you can select a sub-faction, because each of them have different kind of things. So the Caradron Overlords, who are like these steampunk dwarves who live in floating ships, you pick your Skyport, whereas if you're the Dinosaur Man, then you pick a constellation. We're going to go with Stormcast Eternals because that's what I collect. I actually have one on my desk that I've painted ready to show the camera. And we're going to select a particular storm host and also Immortal Realm. Perfect. Actually, my guys are in the realm of Sheesh, so we're going to do that. And let's call it something. So we're going to call this Power Platform Virtual Happy Hour, and we're going to give that a save. Perfect. So now what we can do is we can add some new units to this. So we're going to go across, add a new unit. And based on the faction that we picked, we only get options for units who were part of that faction. So we're going to pop in some Liberators because they're a core battle line unit. We're going to give them a custom name. Let's see, what should we call them? We'll call them Chris is the loudest. Perfect. I think that's quite accurate. So we can select how many models are in this unit, and each different type of unit can have a different amount of models in it. And we can either select these here, or we can scroll up through these and it will increment the number of points that unit is going to contribute towards our army list. And some units can have special weapons and have different options. I tend to take the Warhammers because they're cool. And because we've got a unit of 15, we can have up to 3 special weapons. So we'll pop that in. Perfect. And we'll say, okay, we're happy with this unit, so we're going to add that to the list. And we can go through and we can add way more in here, and we can see, that some of them don't have any special unit options, so I don't have any kind of weapon options that I can go through, or some of them come in different sets of model counts and have different points costs. Perfect. And because I've been a plum and gone a little bit too fast, I didn't save this unit here, so we'll just ignore that for a moment. But we can see on our army stats, this is updated. We can see how many units we've selected, the amount of points that we've selected, and all the different stats here coming in. And because we're happy with that, we're going to go back onto the menu screen so that we can have a look at our existing armies. So you can see there are a couple here that I've already put in, and I've got this nice little gallery view where you can go through and see all of the different armies that we've got. And we can see the one that we just added in, and we can see the number of points that it's got and the number of units matches what we just added in. Perfect. What we can also do is we can go into one of the old ones. So I'm going to go into Hammer and Shield, and we're going to go across, and we can see here that these are the details that I put in for this particular army that's got this really cool unit that I'm dying to buy. So I can't wait to try and paint that thing. That's going to be amazing. So you might be watching this thinking, okay, so that's kind of cool, and the Warhammer pictures look really great, but what's so special about it, right? It's a neat form, but what's actually special? Well, what's kind of special is that it's not actually a form at all. I guess I was kind of lying by calling it Infinity Form, because it's actually a gallery. So the Infinity Form is this gallery that has every single row in the gallery contains all of the components that you would need to be able to display your questions in your form. So we've got here a label for our question text. We've got things like a combo box for an answer, as a text box so we can have single lines of text and things going in. I've also gone a bit nuts and added in all of these other things like a radio control, checkbox. Basically, you can have anything you want. We've got a toggle, and we've got my custom, what I've called increment control here. And that exists on every single row. And then what we do is we need the trick behind it is to give the app enough information to know what type of input it needs to display for each question. And we do this by creating a sort of intermediary table or interface, which in my case is this list in SharePoint. And before we go any further, I know SharePoint, boo, why aren't you using Common Data Service or now Microsoft DataFlex Pro? Originally, this was built for a customer who didn't have CDS licensing. So this demo is on SharePoint, but the next one will definitely be using DataFlex Pro or DataFlex if I can get to it really fast. So this configuration list allows us to input all of the details for our form. So we can put in what we want our question text to be. We can say what the question order is going to be, what section of the form we want the question to appear. And most importantly, we can put in what data type the question actually is. So here we've got our Grand Alliance being a radio control. And in the app, all we need to do is go, okay, so radio control, you need to appear when the data type value equals radio. Otherwise, just hide away in the background. Super simple. If we've got a line of text as our answer, then once again, we just need to have a look over here at, well, okay, is the data type single line of text or is it multiple line of text? And depending on if it's single line of text or multiple line of text, we can change the mode between single line and multi-line, and we can change the height as well, because I would, if you are going to try and do this, use a flexible height gallery so that you can do stuff like alter the heights that your controls are going to take based on what actually is necessary for that particular question. So what's most important though is that all of these items now are coming from this intermediary list. But this is not where we're actually saving our data in. Where are we saving that and how are we getting it? How are we getting it there? Well, we're saving our data into both this list for like our kind of core details and also into this list where we're actually saving the individual units. And the way that we relate, and I know, again, not a relational database, but the way that we relate the question to the underlying field that we want to update is using this associated field column. So when we're actually in the application and we're having a look at, okay, so when I select something in my combo box, so on the on change, we're going to have a look and say, well, depending on which associated field this question has, this is what I want you to do. So if it's Grand Alliance, then I want you to go and update the correct data source for that particular question. And I want you to update the Grand Alliance field. So it kind of all is powered by these super giant switch statements, but the format is the same for every single one. So adding in a new question is just a simple case of, okay, copy it, paste it, change out the associated field name. Super simple. So you might be thinking, well, Clarissa, that's all well and good, and you're telling me it's simple, but you know, there is some work there that needs to be done to get this intermediary table set up. So why on earth would I do this when I can just use a form? Well, there's actually a lot of reasons why this turns out to be a good idea, which is why I'm quite grateful that I have a little bit more time, so I can hopefully get through all of them. So the first and the biggest thing is actually the reason why the Infinity form exists in the first place. So as many of you will know, I'm currently a business applications engineer for a company called Silver Sands, who are a UK-based consultancy company for Microsoft 365. And we have a ton of different clients, all with a ton of different needs and requirements for Power Apps and Power Platform solutions. And we have this one customer who, unfortunately, I can't tell you exactly who they are and what they do, but they're part of the emergency services. And they have this process where service members would go and visit vulnerable people and fill out a form with a bunch of information so that then like the right actions could be taken to help those vulnerable people. And they wanted to, because like originally, right, this form was on like 8 different pages of A4 paper, and these people were having to like flip between them and write on the paper, and no one wants that. Right, especially not in this day and age, and it's incredibly difficult to then audit and make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. So they wanted a digital version of this, but it was such a big form that it had about like 250 questions, which seems fine until you get to this. So this comes from the Microsoft documentation regarding keeping your apps performant and keeping the performance optimized. So the recommendations have always been to limit the number of controls in your apps to 50 per, not 50, sorry, that would be ridiculous, 500 per app. So, and that includes basically every single thing that you see in the tree view on the side is a control. So if we were to try and create a form of this, which I did on this screen here, you can see that for the form, we've got all of our different fields here. And for each field, we have 4 different controls that get automatically populated in. So that's 4 controls, and the card is also a control, and the form is a control itself. So maybe we can say, okay, so it's not absolutely necessary for us to have the star that comes up to say, hey, this field is required. So we can take that out. And let's also remove the error message, because you know we're desperately trying to fit all of these questions in, but that still leaves you with, at a bare minimum, you've got 3 n+1 controls using a form where n is the number of fields that you have in your form. So as you can see, that takes you over 500 really, really quickly. Even if you've just got 100, that's now you're at 301 controls. You're having to pay attention to how many pictures, how many icons, how many buttons you use. All of the kind of navigation and UI stuff that makes Power Apps, and well, especially Canvas apps, really amazing and intuitive and interesting and beautiful to use. You have to start being conservative with those. But with the Infinity form, you do the exact same job with just 4 controls. You've got the question text, text input, and a combo box for drop downs, and the gallery itself. That's your bare minimum, 4 controls, no matter how many questions you have. I mean, I haven't pushed it to like a million questions, but you know, we've gone through this for the process of having 250 odd questions. So this tech, making the Infinity form, actually made that solution for helping those vulnerable people, or helping the emergency service to help those vulnerable people. This tech made that a possibility, and I think that's actually really cool. And it's something that I hate to say being proud of, but it's something that I'm quite proud of, that this has managed to have that impact. But the truth of the matter is that that's not the only use case. That's not all that the Infinity form is good for. Is just for scenarios where you've got huge amounts of questions. So we all know, and I mean, we all know because Mr. Sancho has made the most amazing theming template, and we all love him for it. Who, by the way, Sancho was the one who gave me the inspiration to try the Infinity, or to try and make it. He said to me, well, why don't you use a gallery? And my mind just like exploded. And I kind of was thinking, what, how am I going to do this? And somehow I worked it out. So we all know that it is an absolute pain to go through and do branding on forms, because if I want to change the font of my questions here, then I need to go into every single card and say, okay, I want that to be that, and then I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to do that, and that takes forever. And if I've got 250 questions, I am not going to make it through that without just deciding, you know what, the default font is fine. But for the Infinity form, because it's all a gallery, I can literally just come here and go, okay, well, I want all of my question text to be that. And oh, hey, look, that's gone across the board. I mean, it hasn't gone for these half width ones, but we can come over to here and we can see, oh yeah, that's just fixed everything to my new font. Perfect. That's just saved me a bunch of time. And we can do this for, you know, obviously any kind of formatting, configuration and customization on that. And because we don't need to worry about the number of controls, we can also start adding more types of input fields. So we can have all of these different things of having the description text, these additional text fields that, you know, the customer really wanted to be able to provide that extra guidance for people filling out the form, but we were thinking, oh, we won't have enough controls. Using the Infinity form, we have, and that's fine. And another benefit is that the customer can actually come into this list here and they can say, okay, well, actually, I want to change this. So we're going to say, instead of choose a Grand Alliance, I'm going to say, make your choice, and I'm actually going to try and spell it right. And then we're going to say Power Platform Virtual Happy Hour is the best. And what we can even do is change the data type of the question, and we can change what kind of input field we will see. So if I just give that a quick save, and then we give the data source a quick refresh, and we give the app on start a quick run, because I've done it all based on using collections. Look, immediately it just changed. It says make your choice, Power Platform Virtual Happy Hour is the best, and it's a drop down. If you blinked, you might have missed that. but that's the kind of level of customization that the customer has at their fingertips, and they can change the order that these questions go in. The one that I've done, this one doesn't have it, but the one that I've done for the customer, they can also change what notification text appears when a field that's mandatory isn't filled out and a person tries to save and move past it. So they can actually customize pretty much everything to do with that question. Another thing, again, we all know it's a pain to do if we come into a form and we say, okay, so on this particular variable, I want the visibility of this card to be true and this card to be false, and you have to go through every single card, and again, time consuming and horrid. So why not just have all your visibility logic in one place, one simple place, the items property here. So here we can see, okay, so it's again a switch statement. We've got, first off, we're looking at the locked selected section, which is set depending on what tab they select here. And we're going to say, okay, if they haven't selected pitched battle in this particular drop down here, then don't show them this field and this field down here. Okay, we want to show them everything but that, and we want to obviously order it by our question order so that our customer can change it. Otherwise, we're just going to show them everything. And that is exactly what the behavior that we see. So when we select meeting engagement, it just immediately changes what items you're actually showing. And so in that one location, I can go in and just say, okay, well, I'm going to customize my visibility logic so that when a customer is going through the form and they don't need to remember or follow instructions to say, oh, if you said yes to this question, you need to answer this one, otherwise you can skip it, because I can just make the form do that for them. So the only other, it's a really easy customer experience, because then they just fill in the fields that they see, and then they know that they've done everything that they need to. So another thing is that it also auto saves, because everything is saved on the on change. It means that you don't need to constantly be submitting the form to be able to keep those values. So you can go to other screens or other sections, and it will keep those values there for you, which is amazing. It's a really nice thing, especially since you know, for the solution I've made for the customer, they needed offline compatibility, which this completely fits in with. Since everything is all just going into collections, and you only actually need to hit save and have any kind of connection when you want to push the values to your actual data source, right? So because you've got that auto save feature, it means that if they're using it offline and then they, you know, their phone dies or something, they can just come back and they've got all of their data there. They don't need to restart or go through all of the questions again. And other cool things, you can do neat things like if we come down to transition here and add the pop transition, now when we hover over, yeah, it pops out. It's all nice, kind of these cool little UX things that you would never be able to do this on a form. You'd have to have a gallery to do it. My key thing is, for whatever reason, I have this hatred of scroll bars. I think it's because I can't control where they go and I don't like it. So I love that I can have this navigation step, which you can only have that with galleries. You don't get those with forms. And I can customize how far it drops down when we actually click the navigation tab, which is really nice. So some other cool features into this one. So you'll notice here where we've got this select your points target and add or subtract points. This is actually affecting two different fields. This is two different questions. We've got our pitch battle options and points variation. So it's two different questions, two different fields, one row of the gallery. So normally one row of a gallery can only ever show one item, but I've actually popped in it's kind of one of those things that I was thinking about it, thinking this is going to be really tough, and then I did it and it was one of those like, oh, it's so simple. Basically what I did was have a flag that says whether the control should be half width or full width. And if it's half width and it's on the left, then tell me what its partner field is. Tell me what the field should be on the right. And you don't fill out the partner field for the one on the right hand side. And so when we come into our items here, you'll be able to see, always I say, okay, don't show me any field that is half width but has a blank partner field, because otherwise our add or subtract points would appear both in the row for the points target and also in the row below. And then when we're actually having a look at, for example, we want to have a look at the items here, instead of looking up in our configuration where the associated field is equal to this item's associated field, we're going to look for where it's equal to this item's partner field. And then just with this one line, you can just change this item to partner item for everything, and it's done. So yeah, you can have multiple questions per row in your gallery. And we also have these drop downs here that obviously you saw before. The options that you can select from change here based on what you select. So if you select Sylvaneth, because they're tree people, you get different glades, or if you select Fire Slayers, you get different lodges. Now, this was you know, obviously in SharePoint, if you're using just the choices, you can't say, okay, I want to have this be dynamic. So what I've done is gone into my faction lookup table and I've set these list of like possible options based on this faction. And then when we come into the app, that gets split, put into a collection, and that collection is then shown here when we select our faction. And for the increment tabs, what I've then done is add to that collection an index column, so that just by pushing this up or down, you're actually changing the index in that collection that you're looking at, and what is coming out at the end is the value that is at that index. So when we actually look at the on change for this one, then we're actually saying, okay, update the points variation field with the value that's in the table, in the collection, at that particular index. So it gets a little bit codey, but once you've got it done for one, then it's done for all of them, which is really satisfying when you just add extra questions and it just works. It's very cool to use. So I think yeah, I didn't manage to fit it into 15 minutes, of course. But basically, I've ended up using this in way more places than just places where we've got multiple, where we've got huge numbers of fields, especially for things like inspection apps, where it's like, here, okay, here's an arbitrary number of questions that all need a similar format. It's perfect, and it's really nice to just use it in those specific areas. And hopefully soon I'll be able to get a Microsoft DataFlex Pro version out to show you guys. And now I'll actually stop talking because you're probably fed up with the sound of my voice. Ta-da!
Yeah, don't get used to not talking, Clarissa, because there's about 4,000 questions in the chat for you. So get ready. Does everyone who's got a question want to make sure their hand is raised on Teams, and then we can shoot down the list and go for it?
What if I've got 7 questions?
Raise all
Cool. Sounds like you're up first then, Keith.
There's always one, isn't there? And it's always Keith.
Shut up. It's because I'm ginger and weird.
That's exactly why. I'm glad you figured that one out finally.
Thanks, Chris. Really interested to see the patch statement for how you're handling writing them back to the data source if you're doing it offline. Because if you're doing update on change on the unchange event handler, then how are you handling all the write backs to the data source?
Yeah, so that is, as you could probably guess, one giant patch statement.
Piece of code. Yeah.
So we go through and when we hit save, we do some calculations for the point stuff. And then here we go, patch into this record. And you look up so everything, I'm selecting everything based on you select it, and it puts in it puts its ID into global metadata item ID, or global wall scroll details ID if it's just a unit. And then I always go and say, okay, I want to look up in the table the thing that's got this ID, so that I'm making sure that I update the most up-to-date version. And yeah, it's title, and replace that with your local copy of title. Point the system, replace it with your local copy of it, and just ad infinitum. So yeah, that's how it works. That one is a bit of a pain when you've got 250 questions to go through, I'm just gonna admit. But lol, I can see Matt saying low code. Yeah, I am the worst at low code, no code. Inject as much code as possible into Power Apps. I'm the worst.
One of the things we've seen done, so Paul Compsey did something very similar, and the resulting questions weren't as detailed as yours. So where you've coded every time, the resulting, so you didn't need to write any code for it. It was done row by row. So for example, your question, your answer was all row based. So every one of those would be written on its own individual record, and that puts the API call limit up. But by the looks of things, your method is keeping the API limit quite low.
Yeah, because you only need to push it to that data source once.
So for each one of those on the screen at the moment, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 golden forms on there. So for
Yeah.
that's only 5 records written. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are actual individual records, and the core details on the army stats are one record in the metadata table. So we've got the metadata, which holds all of those things, and then individual units do go into separate separate records, just because because you can have an infinite number of units, right? So I couldn't make it individual columns following on from that one War Scroll metadata item. Does that make
So
sense?
if I'm a new customer, and I'm coming to buy this form off of you, how long is it going to take you to set one up for me?
Well, this one I did in a couple days. The original engagement with the customer was not just the component that had the Infinity form. It ended up being like a 5-app solution that had multiple different components and took in from like Microsoft Forms at the beginning, outputs to PDF and at the end, and loads of flows going in. And that was about a 35 to 40 day engagement. And the Infinity form, considering it was my first time making it, it probably took about 10 days to get that fully operational, and also, to get it offline compatible and make sure that everything was working in the offline case where, the customer really needed it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that sounds long to you or short to you, but you can make.
I mean, I think one of the things you'll find, like, you might be excited to get on and do it in CDS, but one of the things you'll find that's a real pain in the butt with that is if you're trying to maintain it across many entities. So if you're doing relationships as well and maintaining that hierarchy and referential integrity that Chris is always talking about, that makes it super tough. It's amazing, Clarissa. It's really impressive.
Oh, thank you. I know there are a couple of people who are doing like somewhat similar things. So I know like Matt did his quiz the other day on Power Ups for Kids, and that was also using galleries. And I know that Paul Colmsey, I always pronounce his name wrong, and Ashley have done something similar. But hopefully, like, this implementation is fresh enough that there's something there that that is new to you guys. So
I'll share my version with you behind closed doors.
it's that special. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, is that all of your questions, Keith?
Yes, about it. Thank you.
Cool. Who else has got their hand up? Matthew, Devaney, you have your hand up?
Yeah. Hey there,
Talk to
Clarissa.
us.
Hi, Matt.
Yeah. Hey, this is pretty fantastic.
Thank you.
So I was wondering, like, how would you go about repurposing this for another project? Like, since this is so awesome, I'm guessing you're going to want to use it like in many different places, right? Like, and is there a possibility for like a generic type of version that you could reuse, kind of like a template?
So I'm kind of looking into the idea of doing a sort of generic or at least a starter for 10, right? Where you've got all of your different input options, and you've got like your kind of template for your configuration list. What I've found so far is that it tends to be, because there's so much that is very solution specific, that and also, I guess, just because I've gotten quite quick at doing the method now, so I tend to not really bother with kind of genericizing. But that is something that I really want to do. I really want to create a kind of generic version where basically people can use the configuration list to build their own form, build their own app, because all of those changes, I forgot to say, all of those changes that I showed, like when the user can make the changes in the list, they can see those in the published version just when they refresh the published version. They don't need me to come in and republish the app.
That's awesome.
So it kind of puts the power in the hands of the end user. So yeah, hopefully configure like a kind of bland template one coming soon, TM.
And do you see this replacing like many things that you would create forms for typically, like in the future? Do you see this as a common tool in your toolkit?
I think so. I've had, I think the key things are having the that customization flexibility is huge for customers. They really love that. And so I'm kind of like, well, if I could offer that, why wouldn't I do that for them? And then there are other things where, you know, you start down the line of a form and you kind of box yourself into a corner. Whereas this kind of gives you that kind of freedom and flexibility, and especially with the offline capabilities, it's something that I know a lot of customers are really you know, looking to do, and it's something that if you don't plan for it in advance, it can be really difficult to retroactively fix offline compatibility into something. But because this just feeds off of the collections to begin with, you can actually make it offline compatible really, really fast.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for answering my questions, Clarissa.
That's right. Hopefully I answered them acceptably and didn't dodge around.
100%.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thanks, Matthew. Rick Backer had his hand up next. Rick, shoot. You're live on PPVHH.
Yes. Thank you, Clarissa, for the amazing session. So,
thank you.
So I was really also intrigued by the offline functionality, but I must admit it went a little bit too fast for me. So if you can explain a little bit again, or perhaps offline or in this session, that would really be great.
Yeah, so unfortunately, what I haven't done for this one, because I was lazy, is I haven't actually set this one to be fully offline compatible. But what you would essentially do is when you're bringing in your data, you would start off by having, and like, here you go, you've got me typing live now, so this is going to go awful, as you know. So if connection.connect, so if we've got connection, then we're going to pull down the data from the data source. Then we're going to save the data into a local cache file. And if we're not online, then we're going to just load data from the local cache file into our collection. And if I've done that syntax right off the bat, then I will be very surprised. Yeah, I haven't, but it's something along those lines.
Need a collection. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it is, isn't it? So my collection and then my cache file.
And the same for
save.
save.
Yeah. See, everyone needs a Keith in their life.
Okay, so basically it's on app start, and then you also, of course, at a certain moment when you want to update your records, you do the same with the connection connected.
Yeah, so when they're going through the form, all they're doing is updating the record in your local cache. So you don't need to be connected in order to actually go through the form. Mm-hmm. The only time you need connection is if you want to push that that data back into your data source. And at that point, you do your check to say, hey, if I'm connected, then do all of my stuff. So
and because you
just wrap that in with connection.
I understand it. Thank you.
Perfect.
Very cool. Is that everything? So we've just got Sancho with his hand up now. Is that right?
Does it be waiting so patiently?
He's very patient.
It wasn't so much a question. I just wanted to say, like, when we were discussing this back at Microsoft Build, and I gave you this idea, I thought that's really cool. But you taking that idea from like here to here, just wow.
Oh, bless. Thank you. I mean, it was amazing. Like, as you said, I think it was Ignite the tool, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just struggling with it, and I just showed Sancho. I just met him that day, and I was like, dude, look, you're a genius. So I'm sure you've got an answer for me. And honestly, you just said, why don't you use a gallery? And my like mind just was completely blown. So I'm happy that you are pleased with your brainchild.
That's amazing. I couldn't do this.
Yeah, you could. I'm sure you could.
Very cool. Does anybody else have any questions and doesn't know how to raise their hand?
No, I just want to jump in and say that was kind of like mind-blowing and next level awesome as well. So well done.
Thank you.
I suppose we need to ask Chris's question, right? So, how would you go about documenting that? This is the horrible question. I'm sorry. I'm gonna ask it. It's the really evil one. How the hell does someone follow that? So let's say you. How are you going to document that for leaving behind?
Oh my gosh!
It seems like
actually have a can I find it quickly? I have a document called "Hopefully Helpful Steps for Adding New Fields" in an Infinity form. I'm just gonna have to take out some customer stuff.
But we can imagine what that looks like. You don't have to worry about the customer bit.
Yeah, I think I've done it. So, yep, it just looks like. Hopefully helpful steps. Boom. So yeah, this is how to add new fields. It's simple enough that I've just been able to go through and follow it, and it's been totally fine.
Gotcha.
We obviously, like, documenting the full thing, the Infinity form, is going to be somewhat of a challenge, and I do kind of feel sorry for people who have to support this. but luckily we're in a situation, the organization that we're in, that it's really easy to just share that knowledge with my teammates, and yeah, hopefully we'll be able to come up with a way to properly document it all in a way that makes it a bit clearer what's going on. I mean, I am trying to write a blog that will explain how the Infinity form works in general, on like a general basis. My plan was to get that out tonight, and then I was like, okay, no, it's too big. I can't do it in time. But hopefully that can kind of provide a basis to some form of documentation.
Very cool. Any more questions from anybody at all? No. Cool. Then that's pretty much the end of the sessions. Have we got the slides for? Oh, Matthew, you've got another question.
Oh yeah, Clarissa just mentioned a blog. Might as well tell us where that's at.
Yeah.
At the moment, it doesn't exist yet, because this was going to be the first blog post, and I haven't finished it. So it will be on the way. I will be shouting about it on Twitter, most likely. So
I tell you what, we'll make sure to disseminate your blog information to the mailing list when you've set it up.
Oh, ace, that will be fab. And then everyone can pore over the thousands of words that it will probably take.
Just record it as a video. Just use this. Just use this.
Yeah, this will be fine.
Just use this. Yeah. If you want someone, we're not English majors here. We're not writing the works of Shakespeare. So just record it as a video. That's my motto. So, Clarissa, I feel like we should just all pack up and go home now. But we have got some housekeeping to go through. So upcoming events, we've got the D365 UG, the Reading one, which is an all-dayer, globally available. My friends Sam Smith and Laura Downs are going to be talking at that one, so that's awesome. And then we've got the Manchester UG on the 29th, which is a week ago today, isn't it, or a week from today? So next Wednesday. Then we've got the charity quiz on the 30th of July. I'm not sure if that's definitely on the 30th of July. Is Trisha or anybody else that knows?
It is. It's on the 30th.
It's still on the 30th, right? How are you, Trisha, by the way? You good?
This was Anna.
It's definitely
Anna,
not
sorry.
Trisha.
I could tell, obviously.
She was just testing if you knew yourself.
Well, I didn't. So, thanks for showing me up. That's awesome. And at the 19th of August, we've got the next virtual happy hour. Then the D365 UG Cambridge on the 8th of September. And the 9th of September is Southampton UG, and 10th of September Power Up / Power Automate London. So I don't know if any of those have got call for speakers open. If anybody knows, perhaps they could post us details.
Well, seeing as Clarissa's down in Southampton, I want her to come and do something at that Southampton one, because that's one I'm involved with. So it's close-ish to Southampton where you are, Clarissa, I think.
You'll probably have to.
Not too far away.
You'll have to pay her in Warhammer figures, because I hear she doesn't have enough.
I think there's a big Warhammer shop in Southampton, isn't there?
Well, let's all go. Let's all go. We'll get some. We'll get some magnifying glasses and some tiny paintbrushes, and I'm down, totally in for that. So next, oh, look at that! It's amazing.
She's awesome.
Did you paint that yourself?
Yeah.
Holy shizzle, that is some skills right there. So, I like it. I like it a lot.
You'll get addicted to the plastic.
Yeah, I would imagine that I will probably get addicted to that. Like, I have to be careful about stuff. Like, I can't get into cycling because I will just be a mammal or something like that. I'll just end up with a ridiculously expensive bike with like one gear that clips my feet to it. And yeah, anyway, moving on. Next slide, please, Carlos. If you please, my gorgeous assistant. This is our survey. Should have done that before everybody left. So if you could please take a shot with your phone, fill out the survey and tell us, like, we're obviously expecting quite poor feedback for Clarissa's session, but if you could at least be positive about the other two, that would be quite good.
It was too long.
Actually, it worked out quite well, because I think, like, Donna was really stressing about whether she'd be able to squeeze 15 minutes in the middle of Inspire. So yeah, it's all, things always work out the way they're meant to, right?
She gave me a solid.
Yeah. Has everybody got the survey? Can we move on?
There's no more slides.
Is that the last slide?
Yeah. Thanks for coming to the pre meeting.
Yo, Alison, thanks for coming.
Yeah, the survey does have a call for speakers, so if you want to give us a chat and give us a message, then please let us know.
Oh, is that the first time you've spoken on this, buddy?
Unofficial.
Oh, is it Carl? Is that? I think that is the first time Carl's spoken.
It is.
Isn't this the first time that Lee's turned up without any tech issues?
Yeah, I was going to say, Lee's actually here and without any tech problems. Carl's speaking. This is great. This is a big
I feel like
us.
this is a seminal night, people.
Yeah.
This is a night of firsts. It's all. Oh, bye, Matthew. Thank you for joining us. Your participation was very much enjoyed. Thank you for coming. So that just remains for me to say a massive thank you to Donna, who's left, Lucy and Clarissa for their amazing content. Thank you so much, guys. You played an absolute blinder. It was fantastic. Thank you very much to Carl, who keeps the wheels on this thing. And thanks to Lee and Chris for keeping everything running like a well-oiled machine in the background. Thanks to myself just for having lipstick on and making it.
Making it happen, Alison.
That was a feel.
The hair is amazing.
I'm growing the sides out, and I no longer love it. I don't love it at all. It's that's weird. And I think I'll stop the recording now, so you can all start swearing. And if anybody wants to hang out and network, you're all more than welcome to. But thanks, guys, for coming. Really, very much appreciated.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Really good.
Awesome, Clarissa.
Thanks a lot, Alison.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right, I've stopped the